Oh, today I'm gonna watch my boy Muda talk about this crazy Mr. Beast cease and desist situation. I'm not a fan of Mr. Beast. I used to be a big fan of Mr. Beast. Watched all of his content until around the time Squid Games came out. Squid Games was a little bit weird for me because I felt like he was actually making Squid Games. Turns out he did actually make Squid Games. People were tortured and starved and were denied personal hygiene products. Allegedly. I think that's the first time I ever said allegedly. Probably not going to be the last time on YouTube. So let's see what Mr. Mudahar has got to say about Mr. Beast trying to sue people for defamation, which I get it. I know a lot of people would be doing the same thing. I wouldn't. I would just let people defame me, but I also wouldn't be at the level of Mr. Beast, and I also wouldn't be at the level of fake that Mr. Beast is. And I'm a Christian, so I believe that if you are giving to the needy, and you should be, do it in secret. Don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing.
Hello, guys and gals, me Mudahar, and this Mr. Beast stuff is kind of a roller coaster, to be honest. But this is something that's been of great interest to me for the last, I want to say week since it's been happening. And you might be like, whoa, Muda, what is new about this? Well, today we are talking about lawsuits, cease and desists. You know, when the lawyers get involved, that's when things get really, really freaky. And boy, do I know a fair bit about that from my own personal time on YouTube. But to give you an idea and context, basically the last time we looked at this Mr. Beast stuff, there was some serious allegations being made from one of the whistleblowers, Dogpack404, when it came to, one of the largest YouTubers in the game, and the possibility of illegal lotteries, and the terrible onset allegation.
From what I've seen, there's not a possibility of illegal lotteries. It's straight up just illegal lotteries with children involved and just having children gamble. Hundreds of counts.
Of conditions with the Amazon Prime show that they're doing, the Beast games, where apparently people aren't being fed, taken care of, or really anything is right. The implications that the game shows that are being hosted, the competitions, could potentially be rigged, which brings actual legal case law into the mix as well when we start to see how this stuff is treated in the grand scheme of things, right? When the law is brought in. Now, before anybody goes like, oh,
Where my trust is just completely broken is I thought that these people in his videos were just random people and he was giving to the needy. And it comes out that some of these people that he gave stuff to, like cars and money to, were employees and friends. Those people aren't needy.
oh, this is just drama for drama's sake. I want to just kind of reiterate, when things like illegality are brought on board, when people's safety is questioned, that's not drama. That's criminality we're discussing. That is possibly illegal behavior. And that's something that I am very much interested to see how the response comes from. Now, since then, Mr. Beast really hasn't responded. Who knows? He might just respond literally an hour after this video is posted. But to give you a quick idea and context,
I don't think he's ever going to respond. I think he's going to just try and let everybody forget about this. And I think everybody will forget about it. I think everybody's going to be too focused on a bunch of other stuff happening. Presidential elections coming up. And that's probably going to be around the time when a lot of this stuff is just going to be brushed under the rug.
Dogpack404 basically shot out this little notion right here. A cease and desist final warning. Emoji, I would assume, was definitely not included by the lawyer. So here he basically shares, hey, dear Mr. Dogpack404, this firm has
That's definitely not the name that's there. They just he put that name there to not show his real name, I'm guessing.
has recently been retained by Mr. Beast YouTube LLC and its founder Jimmy Donaldson regarding the unsettling news that you have embarked on a campaign to disparage Mr. Beast as a company and defame Jimmy Donaldson as an individual. Not only are your statements about Mr. Beast and Jimmy Donaldson untrue, they also violate the clear, binding, enforceable terms of your confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements with Mr. Beast dated March 25th, 2024.
If laws are broken, non-disclosure agreements don't hold. If people were starved and tortured and denied personal hygiene, That's illegal.
which you have shown in videos posted on the internet. Now, this was one actual thing that I saw. The other thing that I saw posted was from Internet Anarchist, who basically shared this cease and desist letter. Immediate action required. Dear Mr. Blank, McGuire.
I like Anarchist. I watch some of the internet anarchist stuff. So this is very disappointing to see. If Mudahar or any of the people like Oompaville, Tom Dark, Nuxanor, any of those people get cease and desist letters, it's done. It's done for Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast won't come back from that one.
Woods LLP represents your
Charlie.
former employer, Mr. Beast YouTube LLC. I am writing to you regarding your recent troubling conduct following your involuntary termination. So yeah, according to one of the journalists that I've talked to, Stephen Asarch, he basically said that McGuire Woods is actually the law firm that Mr. Beast is using for the third-party investigation of Ava Tyson. So it's kind of a weird mix-up of a clash of worlds you're seeing. Now, one thing that I've sort of seen floating around is the concept of the NDA. Is violating the NDA legally wrong, Mudahar? Well, it depends, right? Like, if you're violating, let's say, for example, I hired you at our company, right? And I told you a secret about, something we're doing a month from now, a production that we have coming out in the next 2-3 months. And you decide to leak that onto the internet. So, for example, I went out and filmed something with Caleb, Tom, Brandon Buckingham, Wendigoon, and it was we filmed like 4 or 5 big videos. Now, the thing about it is, in that company, in the production for those videos, if we hired you to be the editor for that video, and we had told you, hey, don't leak any of this at all, not a single ounce of footage. We want this for you to edit. We want you to put these videos together, and we want you to, basically have these ready to go up on our actual collaborative.
NDAs are supposed to be to keep people from leaking information, not to keep people from speaking up about wrongdoings.
Channel. If you decided to leak that footage, it would be well within our right to take you to court. Obviously, you're leaking stuff that would be considered our secrets. It would be considered our intellectual property, things like that. Now, if on that footage you saw that me and all the guys fucking filmed a snuff movie and actually murdered somebody on camera, something that extreme, what you have witnessed is a crime. And no matter what NDA we make you sign, you cannot fear for bringing that to the police or the public, because NDAs, if you very quickly look them up, do not actually protect you. If they're do not actually protect the people who are issuing the NDA if there is a crime being committed, right? Like, if there are actual criminal activities happening, the NDA doesn't prevent you from disclosing that to the public, or more specifically, law enforcement, okay? That's just how these things tend to work. Now, something about cease and desist that always weirded me out is my own personal experience with them was probably a little bit around the time during the Save the Kid stuff that I did with CoffeeZilla. Now, during this time, one of the people in the videos, I believe it was like maybe FaZe K, if I'm not mistaken, or one of the, it was FaZe K, the one that was like basically one of the faces on the Save the Kids advertising, had sent out a cease and desist through some ambulance-chasing lawyer to CoffeeZilla. And basically, in that cease and desist, any other co-investigator, yours truly, would basically be brought into the fold if we didn't just shut up. Now, the thing about cease and desist is, obviously, if you're somebody new to this game, you'll probably be like, wow, I'm being told that I could be going to court. And the thing about a cease and desist is it's basically a legal...
I'll fight you. Send me a cease and desist letter. Send me a cease and desist letter. I'll fight you. I'll fight you in court. I ain't scared. I'll lose everything. I've lost it all multiple times. I'll throw it all away and gain it all back.
Way of telling you to stop doing some alleged wrongdoing, right? And so when I brought this up to my lawyer and also brought it up to other creators like Ethan Klein from H3H3, basically I was just like told from really everyone that, hey, as long as you know what you're doing is right and you have the case to prove it, then you really shouldn't be taking it up the ass by an ambulance-chasing lawyer.
Where it gets kind of iffy is when they start talking about first names of people, like employees. You shouldn't be talking about the names of employees or contestants or anything. You should have the evidence of that, and you really should be bringing it to court. Yeah, bring it to the media and talk about it. But don't mention names, man. Some of these people that were involved in this are embarrassed. They don't want to be a part of this. They don't want to be a part of the media backlash. They don't want any part of this. Internet's crazy.
And it really seems like Dogpack doesn't give a shit. Now, allegedly, Dogpack also mentioned that apparently his number ended up getting leaked. Dude, has anyone at Beast contacted you about the posts you're making? I've been reading the NDA over to see what I can and can't post because I'd like to move on with my life and try having some type of social media presence. Also, if you're going to post my message for proof you worked at Beast, I don't care, just don't show my number. You can save it how you want. Also, I got your number from Kaylee. I don't have access to anything Beast like Slack or anything. Obviously, I'm not an employee. I'm a former employee. Someone else I know told me they texted you on Reddit talking about Kaylee or Leroy. I'm not that person. And I won't mention any current or former employees because of the NDA.
And
so
as
then,
you should.
allegedly, Dogpack gets this fucking message that said, hey, I'm texting you anonymously to let you know that I heard James wants to have a private investigator start following you and looking into every detail of your life. He wants him to reach out to your former employees.
Is that legal? Can you hire a private investigator to investigate the guy that is leaking your information? Can you do that? Okay. Let me read this real quick. Dawson, I'm texting you Dawson, I'm texting you anonymously to let you know that I heard James wants to have private investigators start following you and looking in every detail of your life. He wants them to reach out to your former employers, find all your social media accounts, your family's social media accounts, videos of you, anything. They already have a Google Doc listing possible ways to discredit you, including you're on drugs and have mental health problems, your mom is bipolar, you were an obsessed super fan, you were crying begging for your job back after they fired you, you tried to steal company funds, etc. I don't know what's true and what's not, but personally I really think you should just take everything down ASAP. If you take it down, they'll leave you alone. That sounds like some mob shit. Mr. Beast is straight up a mafia boss. Wow.
Employers, find all of your social media accounts, your family's social media accounts, videos of you, anything. They already have a Google Doc listing possible ways to discredit you, including you're on drugs and have mental health problems. Your mom is bipolar. You were an obsessed super fan. You were crying begging for your job back after they fired you. You tried to steal company funds. So
it sounds like they're trying to, if this is true, it sounds like they're trying to defame him. They think that he's trying to defame Mr. Beast, so Mr. Beast is going to try and defame him. And this is how they do it. They have somebody send a message like this, and then the message gets leaked. So you see all these, you're on drugs and have mental health problems, your mom's bipolar. So we all know this, but who said it? Not Mr. Beast.
So yeah, this is insane shit. So obviously somebody who got this cease and desist, apparently they don't give a shit. They're just leaking out everything possible right here. So when Dogpack is faced with a cease and desist, he decides, yeah, I'm just gonna go full balls to the wall, involve Hitler, Jeffrey Epstein, and even pretty much mention the idea of like the Team C's like actual charity, which a lot of YouTubers, myself included, you know, basically cameoed and also like participated and gave our likeness to Mr. Beast, and accuses it of not basically being as altruistic as it seems. So according to Dogpack,
don't worship creators that are bigger than you. Don't worship people who are bigger than you. Everybody's like, oh, Mr. Beast, I want to get involved with Mr. Beast video. Mr. Beast is the best YouTuber. No. Unless I really, 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 really respect and know the bigger YouTuber that I'm going to be doing content with, I'm sticking to the lesser YouTubers. The YouTubers that are around the same size as me.
what he basically said that he was going to originally expose the philanthropy efforts and basically being more about aiding private interests and boosting the image than actually doing anything good. But in that investigation, he came across something far more interesting that no one has ever found. And apparently his part 2 will be far more damaging. This is literally one kid versus one of the largest enterprises on YouTube. Truly, it is like legitimately a David and Goliath story, right? Like just size-wise. But again, I like to be fair and balanced whenever I look at stuff like this, and obviously this is just one person's story. obviously Mr. Beast has a side as well too in that whole company. So it really
Yeah, I've heard multiple similar things from multiple different sources, multiple different people that these things are happening to. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 37 times, shame on YouTube for backing this guy.
really is worth seeing, and I'm really hoping to see what their actual side is, because at this point, an actual statement from the Mr. Beast guys could either completely bury this fucking guy, or it could absolutely bury their company. There is no in-between anymore. It is
The fact that they're just kind of letting all this information happen and they're sending out ceases and desists and there are no statements makes me think that most of it's true.
extreme ends of the spectrum. Now I'm going to take this whole mention with a little bit of like charity here. I think it's more intended to be, yes, obviously you're removing trash from an ocean, but it is also a way to show that, yes, we can all collaborate even more down the road to do even more impactful things. I don't think I want to be as cynical as possible just off of this thread. So what he says is, why did Team Seas never mention corporate pollution or push for a ban on unnecessary single-use plastics, and instead push the narrative that this problem is solvable by people and cleanup efforts? Could it be that 50% of the money went to a Peter Thiel startup, funded startup whose largest sponsor is Coca-Cola? And of course, one of the things is, he mentions an actual post by renewablemmatter.eu, where they say 56 companies are responsible for 50% of the world's plastic population, of which the top 5 are...
No. No. Just because there are Coca-Cola bottles in the ocean, it doesn't mean that Coca-Cola put those bottles there. You know who put it there? People like me. Millions of them. Tens of millions of them. Just throwing their trash out. Who keep buying the stuff. Who keep drinking it. Who know it's bad. We know it's bad. But we can't stop. I don't think it's Coca-Cola's fault for trying to make some money. That's just an entity that exists to make money, is what they do. We're the ones buying into it. We're the morons. I don't buy Coca-Cola, though.
The Coca-Cola company, 11%. So yeah, not exactly the best look possible. So then he talks about why plastic pollution is bad, and how depending on the size of certain microplastics, they can phase through gastrointestinal tract, cellular membranes, and even blood-brain barriers, phasing like Danny Phantom, all while potentially carrying thousands of different chemicals that are attacking your body. And obviously I'm going to stop right here because I'm not a doctor. I don't understand the implications of microplastics on the human body. But yeah, honestly, it's a fair criticism to be bringing up, right? Like, hey, if you're going to make an environmentally like positive video, maybe it's better to focus the efforts against the actual problems, right? It's like when people complain about, oh, this guy's driving like a gas-guzzling SUV, but they conveniently will ignore the fact that some fucking environmental like tree hugger celebrity will constantly private jet around the world, and then in their one private jet flight, which they do several a year, obviously, that one private jet flight probably does more harm to the environment and the ozone layers than that person's fucking 10 years of driving, right? It's insanity. So yeah, it is absolutely worth looking into regulations, looking into talks. But this isn't a video about teaching you about environmental causes and whatnot, okay? I'm not an expert at it. I definitely do care about the environment, but at this moment in time, I definitely am not prepped enough to discuss this topic. But going back to the cease and desists, right? Obviously, DogPack doesn't give a fuck. And in fact, he's been on several like interviews. One of them being on my brother's channel, Oompaville, where he talks about this whole situation and some of the allegations that he made.
Good video.
One of them did strike out to me. In fact, 2 of them. One of them about the raccoon, and the other one about this private island that apparently Mr. Beast spent $1 on when it was actually like 23. Listen closely.
They say, oh, it was never a secret, but it's like, well, when you're being criticized for using CGI, why are you not openly acknowledging it? Again, not a big claim in my video.
What about the raccoon?
Raccoon was... Dude, the raccoon, in reality, it's much worse than being a paid actor.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I missed this part. I didn't watch the entire video, so I don't know what he's talking about with the raccoon. Haven't heard of that before.
It's a domestic raccoon that they brought to
Okay.
the set, and they're like sort of treating it like a prop. They're putting it in the ceiling and then pretending like, you know, they just discovered it.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's a scene where somebody off camera takes the raccoon and like throws it onto the bed, and I'm sure you could pull this clip up. The edit is very strange because there's a zoom in and pan up, so it like hides the fact that the raccoon is going on the bed. But what it's really doing is hiding the fact that someone's throwing the raccoon. And then there's a voiceover in post of Jimmy saying, "Oh man, the raccoon just ran in the hotel," or whatever. And they're like screaming at it and shit. So it's like almost, I wouldn't say animal abuse, but like it's kind of borderline mistreatment when you're just like using it as a prop and then.
I don't care much about that. Don't do that. The thing that I care about is when you think that these videos are all real and they're faking them, which cool, fine, silly little videos. But when you get into they're starting to fake the videos where they're helping people, that's when you start to think they're not helping people at all. They're just making money. That's all it's about, is making money, get bigger, making more money to get bigger and bigger and bigger, do bigger things, do better things. Apparently, they were never doing better things.
Yeah, that's
scaring
weird.
it for no reason.
So actually, yeah, that's a pretty sketchy point as well, too. So one of the obvious, like, claims that DocPack had made in his previous video was, like, the raccoon was apparently CGI. When they talk about a paid actor, it means obviously it's a trained animal. Nobody's gonna fucking sit there with a wild raccoon, okay? That's fucking crazy, god damn it. But yeah, if you're kind of, like, unintentionally scaring the animal, I'm sure depending on how close people are to animals or what your, what your barometer for abuse or mistreatment is, some would consider that to be pretty wrong. And I really don't think anybody should be putting any animal in a...
I think it's wrong. I think it's very wrong, but I don't think anybody should be punished, except for to scream at them from all sides of the social media, hey, don't do this to animals.
bad situation. I don't know what the point of the raccoon was in that video, but yeah, it certainly didn't even really need to be there to begin with. But yeah, the other big thing that they were talking about was the island that was purchased for $1, right?
I remember that.
So I'm going to play this clip and just walk you through that.
The island costs more than $1. What about that? What do we think about that? What do you think about that response?
If you literally Google what he tells you to Google, it used to say that it was $1 for the transfer fee, but $27 plus taxes and everything. Also, like, the tax property records show that the island is valued at $800, and then they leased it back to the owner for $0. We're just like, dude, who gives a shit that the island didn't cost $1? It's just insane that they go to such extremes to never admit that they've ever faked anything. That Chucky released his statement at 4 a.m., which is like, I think that's very intentional to when I'm sleeping.
So that's actually a really, really good point, okay? Obviously, I don't give a shit if they bought the island for $1 or $100, okay? I've been around this game enough to know that, yes, there is clickbait, and obviously everything that's stated is not as true as it seems. But when your brand is kind of built on, I'm not faking this is as true, as honest as possible, why go through the extent of even responding to that, right? Or like even trying to obfuscate the fact that, yeah, you paid the price of, you know, like $28. You paid almost $30 for an island.
Or just be like, yeah, it cost $1, but we ended up having to pay $29 because of taxes and fees, because government stuff wasn't actually viable to pay $1, but $28, $29 for an island? Boy. That's what they should have been like.
When you added in all the fucking fees, did you really have to make it seem like you spent just $1? It's this thing with like YouTube communities that when you come across situations like this, it's best to be as honest and transparent with your audience as possible. The more these kind of little nuggets build up against you, the harder it is to have integrity and the harder it is to have that relationship with your
Already lost all integrity with me.
Audience, which is something that, at least for some of these large channels, especially personality-driven channels, you need to be able to make sure that you are as transparent as you can be with the audience. Dude, if I told you guys that I bought a fucking island for $1 or $28, I don't think I would have to joke around and say, yeah, I bought the island. I would just say that I bought the island for like $28. Then I would never need to be criticized by somebody like this, and it's still impressive to be buying an island for $28, okay? I'm like drooling at the property price right there, because it's impressive. But like I said in my last video, I think the responses that they picked out, like the raccoon and the island fees, these are so minuscule. When in his same video, DocPack's video, he talked about illegal lotteries. He talked about actual like fraudulent stuff right there. That is what you should have responded to. If you're not willing to respond to that and instead, you know, send out these alleged cease and desists, That is one of the most terrible looks anybody can have on the situation right now.
Yup.
So going to the actual messages. Now, last time I looked at, these leaked 500,000 something Discord messages that apparently posted Mr. Beast, David Tyson in the worst possible light, ever, right? So you had somebody like Ava Tyson, who was apparently allegedly part of this, insanely, very much NSFW server based on the logs that I had read, especially when there was like adults and minors mixed in. And there was obviously people who were looking through Discord user IDs and were linking Mr. Beast over to that actual Discord server where there was some really unsavory things being shared around. Now, since then, that entire set of leaks, which existed on GitHub, has since been taken down. So if you go to that chriscott.github.io, yeah, it's error 404. It doesn't exist anymore.
Imagine that.
And the thing about it is at the time, the person who was running that account, Nathan here, was basically saying that they assumed that it was a cease and desist. But in reality, it doesn't actually seem like it was even a cease and desist in general. What it really seemed like was that they actually violated Discord's terms of services by, not using their, service in a proper way. So when they were talking about GitHub's acceptable use policies,
Isn't Discord a public platform? Isn't journalism allowed? Can you not just go on Twitter and copy a guy's tweets and just print them out and post them on the internet? I don't care what Discord's policies are when you do things outside of Discord. I don't know. If anybody's got some more information on that situation, let me know. Because, like, when you're investigating somebody and you find illegal stuff and you put it out and then from Discord, and then Discord's like, you can't do that. You used our platform wrong. Take it down. Disgusting. Disgusting. This situation, this Mr. Beast situation needs to end soon. New stuff just keeps coming out every single day, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I think it's going to go on all the way throughout the presidential election.
One of the things that came up to me was user safety. So we do not allow content or activity on GitHub that is sexually obscene or relates to sexual exploitation or abuse involving that of minors, for instance. So I assume that GitHub, which is really just a Git versioning, site to begin with, meant for code and like open source projects, right?
He posted on GitHub. Why? Why would you do that on GitHub? Make a document and post the link to that document on X or something. It's such a weird place to just leave information like that. Of course they're going to take that down. That's not what GitHub's for.
Right? It's not meant for distributing these Discord leaks to begin with. You probably would have had a better option just sharing that around on Mega Upload to begin with and just letting people download and browse it on their own volition. So when talking about prohibited uses on GitHub Pages too, GitHub Pages is not intended for or to be allowed to be used as a free web hosting service to run your online business, e-commerce website, or other website that is primarily directed at either facilitating commercial transaction or providing commercial software as a service. GitHub Pages should also not be used for sensitive transactions, like sending passwords or credit card transactions. In addition, they're also subject to terms of services, including the restrictions on get-rich-quick schemes, sexually obscene content, and violent or threatening content or activity. And yes, that content was relatively obscene. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, obviously I don't think that there was like a cease and desist. I think it was probably the worst site to throw it up on. And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring this up is obviously to be fair and balanced into it. If there are actual alleged cease and desists going out, you probably should be focused on where they're alleged to be going out and not where like speculation is like pretty much cut and dry. So in this situation, I don't really think it's GitHub or, them getting served with an illegal notice or there being some form of like, things being hidden, at least from those Discord logs. At this point, those logs probably exist on numerous storefronts right now. So, you're probably looking at like Mega, for instance. I'm sure you can find them on Twitter.
They're everywhere.
I'm sure the entirety of them have already been picked through on like Kiwi Farms or something. So you're probably going to be just fine finding those logs.
What is Kiwi Farms? I keep hearing Kiwi Farms surrounding these drama channels. What is that?
Even if they've been removed from GitHub. Now, obviously, one of the things that I feel like people really have wanted to touch upon is the allegations that there have been some pretty serious, on-set malfeasance for this Amazon Prime show that Mr. Beast is filming. Now, one of the things that I found on my Reddit that kind of blew up a little bit was Beast Games 2024 contestant alleges a $5 million prize winner was predetermined by the producers, and that is an incredibly serious allegation, one that I really
Wow.
wanted to get
Yeah.
down to. Because an
This one.
allegation like that, remember,
This one, you better prove. You better prove. Mr. Beast better prove that this is not true. Because this right here, this is going to destroy everything. If their competitions are rigged, they ain't coming back from that. You'll never be able to host competitions again.
in the last video, when we looked at the Survivor, lawsuit and the case law surrounding it, obviously the government, obviously when it comes to running a game show or a competition, there shouldn't be any rigging. There shouldn't be any predetermination, especially when you've got over 1,000 people who are willing to participate, put their time, their consideration, and put their lives on hold just to win a prize they believe is distributed in an objectively fair manner, or far fairer than what is being alleged here. So there was a video that was uploaded, and since then that video is actually privated by the actual account user, so I assume that whatever they said was scathing enough that they probably either removed it of their own volition because, hey, if they make a claim and, all of a sudden they think, shit, I'm going to get sued for defaming this project that is run by one of the largest YouTube channels and also fucking Amazon of all big companies, maybe I should shut up. So there's a few quotes that exist.
Wonder what Amazon
from
thinks about all
online,
this.
Sites like Sportskeeda, where they had basically talked about, they were being taken advantage of. Scott Leopold. Or Leopold. Wow, I can't read today. So they actually said, once I heard that, I really felt like I was being taken advantage of. They brought me here. They didn't tell me that up front because I probably wouldn't done it if there wasn't going to be a chance for me to win the $5 million. And that's when they heard that the winner was apparently predetermined. So what they had basically also said was, I had heard from the other contestants that the first part of the series would not be on Amazon Prime. That was the part that I was just in. That would not be on Amazon Prime, and that would just be a YouTube video. And then he alleged that most of the participants were actors. They needed background people, which explains why most of the people, including myself, are actors. We got this opportunity presented to us either through agents or casting networks. It feels like they just wanted to get cheap background people to come and participate. So these are some pretty serious allegations. And again,
Yeah, so they're basically saying that, like, we got 100 people to stand in this circle. But really, it's like they got 25 people or 50 people to stand in the circle, and the rest of them are paid actors to make you think, and the viewers think that there's 100 people here, that it's a big competition. There's a lot on the line. That's rigging.
again, when I talk about, fraud, when I talk about, fairness in these game shows, to give a quick understanding of where I'm coming from, right? One of the key takeaways from the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics is that an average American salary in 2024 is $59,228, right? So for the average American, if that's, the annual salary that they're trying to get to be in that average bracket, for people who take time out of their day, sometimes it could be weeks, it could be months, they are taking a serious hit to their possible earning potential. So when you bring up a game show or a competition to people, it is with the expectation that it's done fairly, so that everybody participating in it knows that, they're putting their time, consideration, and abilities on the line to win a certain amount of money. If you found out that you were participating in a game show and the winner was already decided, why would you waste your time, your earning potential, to participate in something that you're not even...
Yeah, especially when the odds of me being the winner is like 1 in however many people are there. Because the odds aren't 1 in 25 if there are 25 people there, unless they're all athletic. Like let's say it's an athletic competition. I'm somewhat athletic, so I would have more of a chance of winning than some. But if they predetermined the winner, then your chances of winning are less than 1. Because what are the odds that you got picked? This isn't about skill. This isn't about luck. This is about they straight up picked.
Being adequately compensated for. The other thing is, even when you look at big, big organizations like the NBA, for instance, right? Or, you look at these big sporting groups. where serious money is on the line. You've got actual sports bettors who are betting on which team will win and running these giant gambling pools. You know, if we found out tomorrow that every single fucking game in the NBA was predetermined, right? A, their viewership would drop like a rock, because who's going to watch a game that you know is already predetermined? What kind of an athlete would unironically perform in a circuit that they know they wouldn't really have a chance to win it? Because for some of these people, it's not the money that they're going for too, it's also the ability to be a legendary icon in their sport of choice right down the road, which can parlay into even more lucrative opportunities for them. So yeah, these are things that obviously are brought up. Now, even when it comes to this Amazon show, what's insane about it too is, like, even big publications like the New York Times have jumped in and basically posted headlines that are probably some of the most scathing things that I've ever seen. Willing to die for Mr. Beast and $5 million. The contestants in the Internet Stars Beast games expected outlandish challenges and signed contracts that acknowledge serious risks of injury and death. Still, few were prepared for the conditions on set. One of the things that I do want to read is down in this one subsection, hungry, bruised, and bleeding. So what they wrote was Mr. Donaldson presided over the field as the first scenes of the competition were filmed in the stadium. Contestants described how he had stepped out of a shrine-like structure and onto the platform above $5 million in cash. It almost sounds like...
Man, I'm so disappointed in all of this. I used to be like a Mr. Beast fan. I was watching all of his channels, watching all of the content. Mr. Beast Philanthropy, Mr. Beast Gaming, Mr. Beast. All of my friends, too. It's a rough one, man.
Like, you know, Squid Games in a way, right? Like crazy shit. So what they also said was, apparently, despite reassurances that contestants' medication would be distributed to them when needed, several contestants said they had not received their medication on time, including one contestant who needed insulin, instead receiving it hours or even days after their scheduled dosing times. One contestant said she had initially been denied the food she required to take her medication and had been...
This better not be true. This better not be true. Or Mr. Beast is not going to be allowed to make content on any platform. If all of these things are true, if even some of these things are true, it is bad. And it's looking like most of it's true.
Been told by staff members that she didn't actually need to eat. After asking repeatedly, she was given half a banana. Now, look, that is insane, if true.
I can kind of understand that. I can kind of get that. But when you think about the what Mr. Beast is supposed to be and what it represents, then that should not have happened. If somebody says they're hungry, in need, they should be fed. That goes against everything that I've learned from watching Mr. Beast.
Right? Like, obviously, this is, again, an allegation being made, but it is definitely scathing when it's the New York Times, like these mainstream organizations that typically
they're starting to talk
have
about
a lot of legal that tells them you can say this thing or you can't say this thing. Because, hey, here's the thing. If they're actually publishing a lie, like, they can be absolutely sued by the Mr. Beast company. And if this is a lie, I'm 100% on the side of Jimmy and him suing some of these mainstream companies if they're publishing an abject lie. But, you know, I've also got to spread like a little bit of an apology. Last video, I did cite an individual known as Rosanna Pansino. And I remember even when she initially came out with her claims about this hide-and-seek competition not going in her favor, I did kind of blow her off. Like, I thought she was, just, crazy, stupid shit happening.
What is this he's talking about?
But in reality, when you're looking at game show laws now and you're educated, she wasn't really in the wrong. If she is participating in something and she's putting up her time and consideration, and she's participating in this massive project, then yeah, it should ultimately be a fair thing and not a popularity
I don't know anything about that.
contest
Somebody
you should
dropped
be
that in the
going for.
comments.
And especially if you're, an average person participating in a game that, involves Mr. Beast and Amazon Prime Video, then these things ultimately have to be done in the most respectful, the safest manner possible. This isn't a YouTube production anymore. This is a serious professional production where it goes far beyond, you putting yourself into it. It's literally involving people who, are putting up their time, their consideration, their livelihoods. And if, at the bottom level, if they're not even completely safe doing it, then you should never do a production like this to begin with. But yeah, it's wild stuff. There's cease and desists. The situation has evolved to a point where things are getting removed, and there's some actual serious questions to be asked about whether these productions that are now involving multi-billion-dollar companies, are they actually even safe? I think
Seems to me like Mr. Beast is just the less edgy J Station, where all of the content, if some of the content is a lie, all of it's a lie. It's all fake. I don't care. So even if just one little instance is fake, if they faked it, that's a lie. They're liars, and I don't trust any of it anymore.
honestly, throughout this whole situation, I'm looking at it more as of like, hey, a YouTube project that, again, if there is illegality, it needs to be addressed. And here's the thing. I really do hope that Mr. Beast, because I do have a lot of respect for his business sense and who he is as a person. Like, I think the kind of content that he makes, the pathways that he's taken to optimize is something that I think many YouTubers can really respect. I really feel like if there are problems in the Mr. Beast company, it should be addressed now and it should be fixed up before ultimately, when it comes to the mainstream, media and it comes to, these big production companies, it will ultimately impact every YouTuber trying to do a large-scale production in the future if the largest YouTuber is not doing it in the best manner possible. And
The problem is, Mr. Beast is part of the mainstream. He is the mainstream media, and he holds the narrative of the mainstream media. So the mainstream's they're gonna defend him until it comes out and it's outright undeniable, and they'll probably still defend him.
if these are complete lies, then my God, I can't wait to see the Jimmy Donaldson fucking legal ass fucking when it comes to a lot of these news organizations.
Can't wait.
Even a lot of these organizations that didn't even say those Discord messages were alleged. Like, some of them just rolled off and basically said that that was completely real. Even though I looked at people who were confirming them and adding validity, like former victims, even then, still should say things are alleged. But for people wondering why we go down that road, it's because A, you don't want to knowingly disparage somebody, and B, you just don't want to get sued, right? But with cease and desist allegedly being handed out, it's not looking good. That's never a good look. But ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I'm out.
Instead of doing cease and desist letters, how about you just come out and prove that all of these things are false? So far, Mr. Beast has done none of that, and so far, Mr. Beast has done nothing but make things worse by calling people liars and allegedly hiring private investigators to look for information to try and defame the person that is defaming him. I don't know if that's true, but I know that it is true that nothing has been said other than calling people liars. I'm just done. I'm just done with this. I'm done for today. Goodbye. Get out of my house.